Welcome to Cyclops is Waiting for Me, an X-Men animated recap podcast with Wolverine and the X-Men, episode 12, Excessive Force. I'm Rod, and some weird pop-up just popped up on my screen. What is that doing? I don't know. It went away. Okay, we're going to... I don't know what happened.
I really don't want to have to re-record this thing again, so let's just hope to God it's okay.
Recording. It's just like I was reading the script over here, and this pop-up happened over here. I was like, oh, I'll check that out, and then disappeared, so...
okay.
It's not here anymore. Oh, here it is. Oh, it says... Oh, it says it's live streaming, but there's 0 viewers, and we didn't get the link to anybody, so no one's watching. I don't know why I defaulted to that. It's first time for everything.
And I'm JC, and I wanted to mention, because this is a Cyclops-centric episode, at Comic-Con Revolution a few weeks ago, now at time of airing, I got to meet Nolan North, who is the voice of Cyclops in the show, and he does not have any Cyclops materials on his table for him to sign, but he did do this Deadpool signature
nice.
For me. And apparently, according to Nolan, bears suck.
Is there a story behind that? Or
There probably is, but I haven't played the Deadpool game in literally a decade, so I'm going to assume that's a piece of it. Hopefully in the future, would love to get Nolan on, and I don't want to steal the thunder of it, because he did share with me a really awesome story that I can't find anywhere online about Cyclops in this show and his Deadpool role in Wolverine or Hulk versus Wolverine that I want to get him to talk about. So I have the contact info for his agency and such, and that's going to be like a future thing. Probably I'll wait until we get to the end of this season, just because, there's only 25 total episodes. And if we, up until this episode, there's barely been a Cyclops story going on. And then this whole episode is dedicated to him. So let's wait till we have full context, right?
Yeah, because we don't have the best image of Cyclops right now either.
Cyclops is Waiting for Me is our bi-weekly podcast series. We're going back and watching every single X-Men animated episode that we can find. The podcast started with the original 1992 X-Men the Animated Series, which was building up to the release of X-Men 97. And along the way, we've completed X-Men Evolution, launched our companion interview show, the Xavier Files, which also recently had Lenore Zann, the voice of X-Men the Animated Series and X-Men 97's Rogue. But since X-Men 97 Season 2 is not happening until 2026, and we don't even know when in 2026, the entirety of this year is dedicated to Wolverine and the X-Men, which is why we're bi-weekly.
And some quick reminders. We're a recap show about a series that started over 15 years ago. There will be spoilers. If you don't want to spoil it for you, pause the podcast, watch the episode, and come back. And we're currently not sponsored by or affiliated with Marvel Animation, Disney, or Disney Plus, or whatever they're calling themselves this week in any way. I know Disney hasn't done this yet.
I was going to say, they haven't maxed yet. So.
I love the Max story, and by the time this comes out, it'll be a few weeks old, but I love the Max changing. Although, did you see HBO Max posting they tried to steal the Spider-Man meme, but made it Superman?
Yeah.
It's like, it would be funny, except that it was using the Spider-Man meme, and you know why they can't.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, it was funny because you saw the HBO Go like popping out of the box in the corner.
I realized that my Xbox One, which is what I play Fortnite on, instead of the Series X and stuff like that, I never removed the HBO Go program that was sitting on the dashboard for that system for forever. So.
Does it still work at all?
No, God, no.
Okay.
No, I just had never uninstalled it. So,
okay.
Don't forget to follow us on social media at Cyclops IWFM Pod on Threads, Blue Sky, Facebook, and at the time of recording, possibly at the time of posting, TikTok is still here.
So now on to the show. Today we're going to be talking about Season 1, Episode 12, titled Excessive Force.
Which...
accent on the X.
Lowercase e, capital X, lowercase c. Stop it.
Is that a sign of the end of the 2000s, right? Because I feel like if this was the early 2000s, they just would have left the E off, right? It was being X dash.
I mean, the X-Men have done that for decades, so...
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah. Anyway, so this one aired, speaking of late 2000s, this one aired June 12th, 2009. Currently sits at a 7.7 star rating on IMDb.
Yep.
And once again, I'm going to try this thing where I have the episode kind of like playing off to the side in case I need like a little refresher. This is the musician in me. I think it's like if anybody plays like an instrument or reads sheet music, it's kind of similar to like I don't need the sheet music, but it's there. And I probably won't look at it, but I play better when it's there. So this one, unlike the previous,
it's kind of like how you can't hear dialogue unless there are captions.
Yes, and this does have the captions on here.
Of course it does. Of course it does. Why wouldn't it?
And this one, unlike the last one, did have it previously on. So it reminds us, we haven't seen the flashbacks in a while.
The original flashbacks, yes.
The ones that I thought were premonitions.
which we also thought was the only previously on that existed for like 6 episodes as well.
Yeah. So we see those, and then my note here was like, right, Jean is part of the show. Totally forgot about her. It is, even though we go a long while without recording, I feel like even in the context of the show, it's been several episodes. Yeah. She's even been mentioned.
It probably would have been, which is one of the flashbacks of Emma and Scott kind of like doing their like search thing of like, maybe there's nothing to be found, which is kind of like, oh, is she dead? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that was the next part of the note was like Emma just like kind of slowly shooting her shot here.
And then you get that flashback to the previous episode where Scott is sitting outside and Emma is like longingly stalking him from her window.
Yeah. And so it's just reminding us that Scott still hasn't let this go. Although I feel like we haven't like forgotten about it because he's just generally kind of sad because he's not the leader in this one.
Yeah.
So he's just kind of generally sad. And then, so that was pretty standard previously on. And then we cut to Cafe Rose. It's like a New York spot, right?
Was that the same cafe that Quicksilver and Psylocke had their interaction at?
It looked like it.
It was very much the same design, it felt like.
Yeah, with the patio out front and stuff. I don't know if it was the same name, but it was the same design.
Yeah.
Scott is, I know he's going through stuff, but he is kind of being like an ass to that waitress.
Yeah, like he like completely disassociated.
Yeah, like to the point where I thought, like, is this going to be a weird like mind control thing? Or,
is he having a stroke?
Right. And she even says like, okay, weirdo. Because on top of him not responding, like he has those sunglasses that you can't see through. So she's probably like, okay, whatever. Because he went to the trouble, and this is coming from an introvert that goes outside, but he did go outside and ordered a coffee and sat on the front outside patio. So I think it's not weird to, for the waitress to think that he would even respond to like, no, I don't need anything, or
because he had to order something.
Yeah,
like he had to give the order.
But then he doesn't even drink the coffee.
Nope. No, he just starts creeping on various redhead women.
So this is what I mentioned last episode, my like kind of not issue, but like confusion about character design on this show. Because maybe it's just me. I did not see a difference between any of these reveals of these redheads and the Jean design.
Hairstyle. It was hairstyle.
Yep. Okay.
Because they were also purposely wearing like that green shirt that was similar to what Jean was wearing in the flashback too. Okay. Granted, that was intentional to fuck with the character, but the hair was different enough that it was like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing.
So he thinks he sees Jean, and he a couple times, right? And
there's 2 of them. Yeah.
And he walks. So that's when he abandons his coffee. At least he leaves money, I guess. Like. I don't know if I remember coffee shops being like this, even because this time I was living on the East Coast, where you pay after, or maybe there was just a tip and he was being a jerk and leaving change as well as a dollar bill. I don't know.
I've been to coffee shops when I was on the East Coast where it was you got a table and you had a server.
Okay.
I don't feel like I have any of those out here because they're all order at the counter places in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that might just be a sign of the times because, like, I was explaining to like one of our younger friends about
that
like
not everybody asks you to leave a credit card at a table, kind of thing.
Or like there was a time when we were not kids, but like teenagers, that like we didn't have to pay for gas first. Like, but I don't think anybody remembers that now. So. Yeah, so he walks around the crowd. It kind of gave me like a little bit of that when Neo's doing his training in the Matrix with the crowd and the woman in the red dress. There was a crowd at New York Street and people were walking by.
Yep.
And and my note here was like, he brushes by somebody who's definitely a mutant because they're in like spandex and a trench coat.
Yes.
And I don't know who that was. I didn't recognize the character design or anything.
So the character design for Harpoon is not reminiscent of his character that you would have seen in like X-Men trading cards and stuff like that. They actually did a redesign on him, and then who we're later going to see, Blockbuster, as well as Arclight. Like, they did a pretty heavy redesign on all three of those characters in this episode. Gotcha. Arclight being the most dramatic. Arclight is actually a full gender swap on the character too.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is clearly a mutant because it's the only person in this crowd wearing like a shiny spandex suit and
like metal bracers on his shoulder and shit.
It's kind of like a Gambit thing, right? Like going to the mall.
He looked a little bit like, before I realized that it was a Sinister-centric episode with the Marauders and everything, he looked a little bit like this is the second time I've said it in this series, but like a Captain Ahab kind of vibe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess you see that with the hair a little bit. Not
necessarily the hair, but just kind of like the sturdiness of the character. It looked almost like a naval vibe kind of thing for me.
And I guess this was the intention, but I was so confused with this scene because I was like, am I supposed to know who that is? No. Is this a dream sequence? Because once again,
why is Scott just putting so many people at danger?
Well, that's the thing, is like I still wasn't seeing the difference in the not jeans.
Right.
And then for him to like brush by this person that he clearly recognizes, and then that person recognizes him because he runs away. And then, my next note is Scott destroys the block without consequence.
Yes, none whatsoever.
And I was like, oh, this is the Scott that was destroying the abandoned buildings, except here they're not abandoned. Like, this is in broad daylight.
This is a populated street that he's just going after this dude. And then you get like a very like stone cold vibe off of him, where at the end of this thing where the dude is down, he literally just like optic blasts him to knock him out when he's on the ground. It's like literally punching a dude when he's down.
So I don't know Harpoon's powers. Is like super strength, like standard super strength, like part or durability part of that?
And throws harpoons.
Okay, so he can survive like a point blank optic blast into the concrete.
I don't really remember Harpoon's powers because he's so much of a character I don't give a shit about. He was very much like the Morlock Mutant Massacre era, like with the Marauders kind of vibes, like pre X-Men 92 Sabretooth era. Like when he had like the big bushy hair, that was when he was a relevant character.
Okay.
So
he actually they kind of give the impression that he killed him because of blacks
that's
out.
what I said. It was very Stone Cold vibe.
And then they cut to Bobby and Kitty playing a video game at the mansion, and this was so uncanny. They have like the inset of like what appears to be a real video game. I'm assuming that was like they were advertising a real Marvel video game.
So what did I text you last night?
Corporate synergy. Is that what you meant by?
So I texted Rod as I got to this because I end up usually watching it about 24 hours before he does. And I said the corporate synergy in episode 12 made me scream at the screen. And it was because in 2008, there was an Iron Man video game that came out tied into the movie. And it is such, like, maybe it looked better at the time when you're watching it on like early HD TV or something like that, but god damn, it just is like such an unclean fit into the screen right now. Yeah,
it really popped out. I was like, oh damn. The game does look fun though. It kind of did its job.
It's one of the worst games.
Oh really? Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. The Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor video games which came out, which is why they stopped doing them tied into the MCU, were all bad.
I think around okay, never mind. I was gonna say in like 2011. I think I had a Thor game on my iPhone.
I mean, it would have been a separate scenario,
but it was pretty like it looked like a platformer for like a PlayStation thing.
This was like a wannabe God of War vibe for Thor. So
gotcha.
Yep.
So
not
they kind of show the whole existing team. They're like Storm's there, like watering plants and stuff, and then Scott just comes in with harpoon over his shoulder, and, like, drops him on the ground. He's like, "This guy knows where Jean is," and then it cuts to the opening credits. I'm like, I am so lost, like so. Because any inkling that I thought that this might have been like one of those weird like dream sequences or something,
is killed
like,
instantly there.
Because they did a good job with establishing it. Beast was there too, and then I was like, okay, so good job on your storytelling. Where I'm genuinely curious now. So like, I didn't watch the show when it was out, so I don't know if it was one of those shows where they did this cold open, then there was like the credits and then the commercial, or if it was just the credits.
More than likely it was, yeah.
So
that was pretty standard back then. Infuriating.
Yeah. But this definitely would have kept me like not going to the bathroom for the commercial.
Right, because you need to see that reveal after the fact.
It's like, what the fuck? I have no idea what's happening. And then when they do come back, it's kind of more confusing for a little while because Bobby turns him over and is like, "Oh God, this guy." And then I didn't know it was Harpoon, and that's when Kitty said like, "Oh, this is Harpoon," and I was like, how does everybody know who this is?
And we've talked about this earlier, like even with Domino's history with Xavier that was unexplored and stuff like that. Like, we don't know what happened to this team before it wasn't the blip, but they gave it a name in one of the episodes. I just can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, the inciting event that happened.
Yeah. So we don't know like all that, but then we get a massive lore drop about Sinister and everything like that because Emma hasn't been on the team, so they give her the catch up, which catches all of us up on it. So
yeah, I was kind of surprised to see Sinister in this. I feel like there was like because I was ready to be on the Magneto train for a while.
Well, especially after the last episode because there's the whole like Quicksilver needs to do the thing for his dad that he says is impossible, and then we just go to a Sinister episode. I was like, okay.
Yeah, and so Wolverine is yelling at Scott. He's like, "This is such like a reverse from 92, 97."
So that was what I was referencing in the last episode where I was like, yeah, something about the characterization is wild. And it is literally the two of them have reversed. They've absolutely flip-flopped on this. So
Cyclops is the, not feral, but like the rogue one, right? Like he's on his own missions and stuff. And then Wolverine's like, you have to be sensible because I run this team now. He's like, but you brought him here? And I was like, whoa, okay. They're definitely leaning into this. Like there's a history that we don't know. And then Wolverine, Scott's like, Emma, read his mind. And she's like, okay.
Yeah.
I love it. There was no discussion like, I don't know. Okay.
To be fair, that actually feels very accurate for Emma, though. That characterization did not change. She's like, yeah, sure, fuck his privacy. I don't know this guy.
And he's like, ask him about Sinister. And I was like, oh, okay, they were going to get into the Sinister stuff. And then she's like, he doesn't know anything about Jean. And I was like, once again, so lost to what's going on because now we have like this whole crazy thing with Scott. The characterizations are different. Like Sinister is here now in the story. Emma confirms that like he's wrong about this thing. I was like, they've just like thrown this like story like ball of yarn in the middle of the thing, and we're just, I guess we're untangling it now.
I love as like they kind of like all like Scott storms off. Beast is like, well, looks like we have to do a what do you call it? A drop and dash at the MRD.
I was like, that's what of all the places.
This Beast. So we've talked about like the Beast went off on a route that they had to basically do a character reset with him in the comics, but this Beast is like chillingly logical. He's not evil. He didn't like go over the deep end, but he's like, yep, have to send them to jail because I don't want to deal with this shit.
Yeah.
And also Bobby just froze him.
Yeah. Once again, we're just assuming that it doesn't kill people in this universe. But I like how Bobby's like, what? He was waking up. But then Storm gives Wolverine permission to not go after, but to follow.
I don't think it was necessarily permission. I think it was like, you're the leader. You got to fucking do this. Like, I thought it was a kick in the ass.
That makes more sense for Storm.
Yeah.
I never trust Storm characterizations in this era because this was also during the Halle Berry debacle.
So you just eternally doubt the character during any of the Halle Berry era?
I just don't know anymore, because we also don't see a lot of Storm in this show. I mean, we've seen her a couple times now, but like not enough to like kind of get a solid picture of like which version is this.
Yeah.
So I do love, we saw this in the intro, but I do love that Scott has like this show's version of the photo, like the photo.
Yeah. Like literally, like to the whole point of like they're crisscrossing back and forth with personalities. He has the reverse of Logan in 92.
Yeah. It would have been so great if Scott was laying in bed
and just shot through it instead of clawed through it.
Yeah. And so we just get that shot of him like looking at the photo. So Emma asks who Sinister is. This is when he gives the exposition dump and the MRD thing. So Scott, after pulling out that picture, suits up. It was interesting that they showed all his stuff in the closet. I don't know much about storytelling, especially in animation, but to me that felt like something where like when you haven't seen a character in their suit at all or in a long time,
it's more of a big reveal moment.
Yeah, but it's like we've seen him in that.
Yeah, a bunch. Well, it was also they showed like the visor, and then for a second it didn't look like his just trench coat. It looked like it was a different suit. And then he walks to the door, confronts Logan face to face, and it's just his suit with the trench coat.
Yeah, it's the one we've seen him in.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, they have like the whole like, you're going to go start a war. Why do you care? You've started wars for less. And then Wolverine's like, yeah, but I didn't bring the team down with me. And like, they're literally just mirroring arguments that they've had in every other piece of media in just opposite roles.
Yeah. And I guess the explanation here is that it's because
it's Wolverine's show.
He's the leader now. So like, it's kind of like you're the perfect parent until you're a parent, right? It's like, well, if I were handling, if it were me in charge.
Nobody has ever accused me of being the perfect parent in any scenario.
No, not accused. It's like people, the
unsolicited advice kind of scenario.
Yeah, they have the answers. Also, if you ever want to punish someone or ostracize someone, give them exactly what they want in those situations. There's been several times, like, friends have just, like, or former friends, have just, like, not have been so upset with me because they'll be like, right, if that were me, I would do this and fix it in 2 seconds. And I would just, like, drop them into the situation. Next time it happens, like, oh, fine, okay, you talk to him then. Like, why'd you do that? It's like, well, you said you could fix it. But yeah, so I guess it's, for me, it's just like one of these things where, like, people have all the solutions until they have to be the one to do it. But I do, speaking of the role reversals, my next note here is like, Cyclops pulls a Wolverine. He literally takes Wolverine's motorcycle.
Yeah, it was the counter to cutting off the roof of Cyclops' car.
Oh, basically. I didn't think about that. Yeah, exactly.
I wonder how much of that was like. Obviously, it was intentional that they're doing the roles that they did in this, but I wonder how much of this was like, here are moments that we want to give the counter version of specifically. Yeah. So,
and then Emma walks in the garage and says, "I can help." And like, I love how Scott must already start having the hots too, because he's like, "Oh, I only got one helmet," and she's like, "That's not what I meant." She's like, "Anyway, Harpoon's on his way to see someone named Blockbuster and Arclight," and I was like, "Blockbuster is like." I'm ready to. I'm anxious to see. Looking forward to seeing Sinister's other associates. AMC and Regal Cinemas. Those are some random.
I didn't want to write it down, but at the very least, I knew you were going to make an Arclight joke. I knew because. Goddamn, man! Like outside of LA, nobody talks about Arclight, but we are obsessed with it as a group.
But it's just like it's 2 movie things as the 2 henchmen. That's so wild. Like Blockbuster, especially like it. And in my understanding, through the context of this episode, Blockbuster is just a strong person, right?
Yes.
So nothing to do with movies. And yeah, Arclight. For anybody that's not in LA, Arclight is since 2020 closed down historic theater in Hollywood that was like the Dome Theater. Many historic things that happened here. So various film friends in town are trying to petition the Fantastic Four to have their premiere there because they think it'd be perfect.
Okay, so Blockbuster the character debuted in 1986. Blockbuster video open. October of 85.
Oh,
Claremont did not name it after Blockbuster Video.
No, I know. It's like summer blockbusters, all this stuff. If anything, it happened after like Jaws, right? Or something, like, because that was the first like summer blockbuster movie or something. But it's just interesting that it's a movie term, even before the like the chain happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I guess I don't know what ArcLight is outside of, because I've only ever heard the ArcLight Theater. So I'm
looking up.
But I was like, what a wild like.
Okay, so blockbuster, context makes sense. A thing of great power or size, in particular a movie, book, or product, but meaning is power and size.
Maybe it just increased in the movie context over the years.
Yeah, I mean, we just put it into the vernacular. And an arc light or an arc lamp is a lamp that produces a bright light by generating electric arc across two electrodes. So that actually makes sense for ArcLight's powers. Now I don't know what it has to do with the movie theater.
Maybe it was originally powered by something like that, or it was just like one of those cool like buzzwords of the time.
Yeah, like a Tesla coil.
Yeah. Anyway, so
why do people listen to us?
Right. Oh, because of this next part. So we find out their names, but I just want to like go through like my thought process while we're watching this next scene. We're in the sewer. And a swirl lady is with a big guy capturing a Morlock. And Scott saves him. I did have a hint that this was Vertigo based on the power set.
Yep.
But the suit was similar to the Vertigo we knew before. But
with the short hair.
Yeah, the character was different.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't familiar. If the Morlock was supposed to be anybody particular, I didn't recognize them.
It was.
Okay. Was it Leech?
No, it's not Leech. Okay. It's our favorite random character who happens to be a Morlock.
Like Tommy or something?
Berserker.
Really?
That's Kid Berserker.
Oh,
and
okay.
I was confident with it because of the design. If you actually look at the credits to the episode on IMDb, it's the same voice actor as Wolverine, Stephen Bloom, and he actually did whatever, I don't know, grunting that Berserker was doing. But yes, it is funny. Berserker.
Wait, we saw Berserker before, though, right?
In the future.
Oh my god. Okay. Oh wow. Okay, I'm just not keeping up. Okay.
Your face when you realized that is just so pure, Rod.
I didn't remember that was the future because that was Xavier and
that was Xavier in the breakout. Yep.
The Bishop thing. Okay.
Yep.
So this is another one of those butterfly effect things I mentioned in the last episode, because like had Wolverine not saved Berserker here, then what happened to that breakout? Or Cyclops. If Cyclops hadn't saved Berserker here, then what happens to that breakout sequence?
I don't know. Berserker didn't really do fuck all. Right. I think Vanisher was more important for that. So
when you're...
Oh. Our producer's giving instruction.
I put her little treat tray out because she was laying in this area. I think she wanted. So, also, if anybody watching, if you see like a little like crumb on her chin, is because this little kitty is now on probiotics by vet instructions. So it's this dusting, and now she'll just have this little like goatee. So,
but yes.
Anyway,
Cyclops saved Berserker's life.
Yeah, and then. Because
they definitely make it seem like they're going to abduct him and then turn him into a lab experiment and die.
Yeah,
like,
especially with the Sinister thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like you're going to be sacrificed for science, is what they say.
And then there's a big old fight, favorite sequence, but this one erupts into the street. This is like anime level, right?
This is like Cyclops has no regard for anyone's safety.
Because it like erupts out of the street, which he clearly doesn't have sight of.
Yep. So there could have been cars or people above him.
Yeah,
yep.
And then he throws or propels Blockbuster up into the air, and he lands on a car. And it's one of those like I would say like late '90s, but I guess 2000s tropes of like everybody gets out of the way just in time. But the guy in the car like gets out before Blockbuster lands on it. But like I'm like the sequence is playing in front of me now. It's like so many people died in this.
Yeah,
they just like moved the camera to places we saw that people because like buildings are falling like. Cars are falling into sinkholes. He
shoots through the side of a building like it's fucking Man of Steel.
Yeah, that's the same thing. Yeah, Man of Steel, and then same thing that like what Wanda did, right? In the MCU, in Sokovia, right?
Well, that was an explosion. But
still, like it's like takes out a floor of a building.
Yeah, yeah.
And then like Vertigo's out there, and like just I don't know what she does to those people.
She gives them vertigo.
But like they just fall where they like all those people have concussions, right? Like,
If you fall awkwardly, yeah.
Like they just like literally just dropped. Like it's this is such an insane fight. They just kind of like wave away, but like and maybe it's because we're older or I'm older. Like I'm watching this, I'm like there was so much bodily harm done to innocent people. In that
there's
sequence.
so much collateral damage in this fight, no doubt. Which isn't even the most collateral damage, because the one where he has it with Arclight in a bit is worse.
Yeah. And so that crazy fight happens, and Scott sees. I still have Swirl Lady here because they haven't named her yet. Yep. Scott sees Swirl Lady running away, and then follows her. And then we have to keep going with my train of thought here because I know we have the names. We see the lab. Knowing that Sinister's involved, it's like, this makes sense because it has that crazy machine that kind of looks reminiscent of the big ball thing from the Cure episode in 92.
Yep.
With the random saws and arms and stuff.
Yeah, the torture droid from Star Wars.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then my note here was Cloud from Final Fantasy is taking samples on a computer. He looks like a Final Fantasy character.
Okay.
But then they quickly name him Arclight. So it's like, oh, this is Arclight. So
when I saw him really quickly, obviously there was the context that it was Arclight, but he looks like an emo version of the character Grey Crow, who's also a marauder and like is also half cyborg and stuff like that. He later is like a more like redeeming character, but at like that time he was kind of a piece of shit bounty hunter and stuff like that. But I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that all makes sense. And then Vertigo just like runs into it, and he's instantly like, why did you bring him here, you idiot?
Yeah. And so it immediately follows with Scott blasting in like Kool-Aid Man style. This version of Vertigo is this really characterizing her as being like very new, right? Like,
or just cowardly. Like a total shitheel.
Yeah, because she immediately runs away. Yep. Who knows if we ever see her again? But also she's wearing a bright green like jumpsuit, so like she's not trying to be covert.
She abandons Arclight, and then Arclight is calling Sinister for help, and he immediately gets yelled at. And then the second you heard the voice, did you instantly recognize the voice?
No.
It's Clancy Brown. Oh,
okay.
Yeah. The second I heard it, I was like, holy shit, they got him in this?
That's so fun.
Yeah.
So Sinister's like watching this through this weird like kind of like 90s witch orb thing, like a Wizard of Oz.
But a technology like, Wizard of Oz, yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, this is all your fault. Which this always gets me with supervillains or villains of any kind when they are upset with the goons for being telling the goons they're responsible for something. It's like, okay, the goon's gonna die, clearly, you're gonna kill him. Yeah. But how does that help your situation? You're still missing all this stuff. Like, you're the one that put this person in charge, you know? Like, do you want to do something to fix the situation?
Nope.
Or just yell at this person?
Nope, they want to kill him.
So
Scott is like screaming, "Where's Jean? Where's Jean?" And that's where Sinister Clancy Brown comes up with the "Listen to me very, very carefully."
And that's when we know like, oh, he's gonna lie about finding Jean, and we don't hear what he says, but we know. And then Arclight's like, it says he has some he runs away. Yep. And Scott chases him. Yep. Back at the mansion, Wolverine is, yelling at Emma, and she makes a good point. She's like, I just did the same thing for him I did for you.
He asked me to help, and I helped. Sorry, dude. Yeah, why did you do that? Because he asked?
Yeah, the same thing. Like, and he did the same things. Like, I gave him information, and then he left the premises with the information, just like you did last week. Then there's actually a really badass motorcycle chase scene. Kind of remind me like the light cycles in Tron.
Yeah, and this is where I said a lot of people were dying because they're literally just demolishing the street as this is going on.
Yeah.
And like a car flipped over. Like straight up flipped over. Like that person's dead.
Yeah, and it's the motorcycles, all the vehicular damage, but also Scott's optic blast, just like decimating stuff. And then Arclight, I guess it's like a force field or something. Is he some sort of like vague electromagnetic.
Yeah,
kind of.
It's like a Magneto force field, basically.
Oh, I forgot to mention before. Wolverine like recruited Emma to go fix the situation. So Arclight before so Scott's blast is able to go through Arclight's force field, which is a badass imagery, but made me all more confused about his powers.
Don't try.
We don't need to know.
Nope.
We don't need to know.
Nope. Add it to the Tamara list that we're never going to ask her.
And once again, I thought he killed Arclight because he left a indentation in the ground. But then that's when Arclight's like, I know where Jean is.
Yes. Yeah, it's the only thing that stops him from straight up killing him.
And then we get this random cutaway. Not random, because we knew it was going to happen, but like kind of an unnecessary cutaway of Kitty and Bobby dropping off Harpoon at the MRD.
And I love that they end it with her driving away, yelling like, oh, don't give him to Magneto, which is a weird thing to say to the MRD, who hates Magneto, presumably. And the guys just do not give a shit. They are like the worst security guards ever, because the guy's just like, oh, frozen guy, I'm going to keep drinking my coffee.
Yeah. He's like, oh, he's got a while till he thaws out here.
Yeah. I mean, I legit think the only reason for that was they needed to showcase that it wasn't just Wolverine and Emma who were on the road and outside of the Institute. They had to give a reason why everybody was already somewhat close by, is my thought.
And I'm not saying that they put this much forethought into it, but it would be interesting if later on in the show they show that there's some sort of like negotiations between Magneto and the MRD, and that's why Kitty said that, you know.
I don't ever want to say no to any of your theories ever.
It's the only reason I could think of. She was like, don't give him to Magneto. I was like, why would they give him to Magneto unless there was like a weird arrangement,
right? Like a prisoner swap thing.
Yeah, and especially knowing that he's like one of Sinister's guys, maybe that is like a lesser of two evils situation or something. Or we also don't know, like Genosha, like maybe that's part of how Genosha is like kind of left alone or something.
Is they take some of the violent criminals?
I don't know. Yeah, there's some other whatever.
And then from there, you see Wolverine and Emma with Arclight, and there's kind of like there's a little bit of the Emma moment of like, you know, he's a good dude in a world that's meant to destroy good people. And as like they're about to have like a little bit of a heartfelt moment, she's like, oh shit, I know where he's going. He's trapped.
Yeah, that was a couple of cool things there. Is more showing Emma like kind of falling for Scott. I'm assuming that's where this is going, right?
It's got to be. There's no way. Like after the window lusting thing, 100%. Yeah.
Hopefully they tread this carefully. Emma is such like an OP thing in this show because she can. They did a good job with it before when she was distracted by Scott and Wolverine like snuck up on her.
Yeah,
but like she could undo any conflict in the wrong, you know, kind of sequence.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of the concession with almost every major character. Like you could say the same about like Xavier. Like Xavier could just like shut everybody's mind down, but they don't do it because it would be you know.
I guess just here that they've shown her use this situation so much, where like she knows she gets the exposition dumped by osmosis.
Yeah,
from her powers and stuff. So she's like, oh shit, like this was a trap with Sinister. And then we cut to Scott barging in on Sinister with, and I'm so happy I called this. I was like, multiple man question mark?
Yep. Good job.
But then I got a little bit confused because what they call him later.
Madrox.
Because I guess maybe because I was used to Evolution, Jamie.
Yeah,
was his last name?
Jamie Madrox.
Okay, that's the part I didn't catch.
Yep.
This is more of like Vampire Sinister and less like Theater Sinister.
It's not as bombastic. Yeah.
Yeah, like he kind of has like anime villain thing going, but he also had like the fangs. They fight. Scott almost wins because he takes out Multiple Man relatively quickly. But then
this version of Multiple Man is not great at fighting. He's literally just like overpowering odds is the only thing he has in his favor.
I kind of got this first wave was like a false start, right, with Scott to kind of get him a little confident because he...
Or just Jamie didn't know how many of himself he needed.
Oh, Gary.
Yeah. I also, this felt pseudo corporate synergy too, because Multiple Man for the most part has aired on the side of being a hero or a heroic character.
Oh, okay.
But it was only X3 The Last Stand where he was on the bad guy side with Magneto. So having him be like the henchman to Sinister felt out of place for me. I'm not used to him being one of the bad guys.
I don't think about the X-Men movies, so I didn't...
I know you don't. Also, Arclight, I forgot to mention this when we brought her up in the first place. She was also in X3 as one of the characters. So when they swapped it to being a guy, it was even like weirder throw off. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, she was like friends with that girl who was supposed to be like Callisto or whatever her name was. I don't know, but yeah,
gotcha.
she was one of those like 3 mutants who's like pissy with Magneto in that movie, which you've definitely blocked out at this point.
Yeah.
Yep.
But then my next note was like, oh, Madrox is Multiple Man. It was just interesting he called him that. I guess maybe it's a little less goofy than saying Multiple Man. Go do this thing. But then I was kind of surprised that Scott can't hurt Sinister, because Sinister like stops a blast with his hand.
Yeah, he put up a force field, which, yeah.
Where did that come from? Is that a thing? Is that a thing Sinister does?
Yep.
I wasn't familiar with that. So, and then my next note was Multiple Man snapped Scott's neck on a rock. Like, he should have died from that, right? Like,
it did not look like he should have gotten up. Like, it was very much like a Gwen Stacy vibe.
Because they had the sound like, I was like, oh, he just died.
Yeah. Well, he snaps him because that's where he's asking for Jean, and Sinister's like, I don't know. Is that where that happened? Yeah. and then Madrox gets him a good kick from behind, and that's what drops Scott.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, there's a lot of them at this point. I'm watching it again now. Like, it's probably at least 100, maybe.
There's easily dozens of them in there.
And then I knew you were going to wait for this moment. Sinister makes the DNA reference with Scott. Although I will say, in this particular situation, he doesn't make it seem like that's
it's less sexual for you compared to previous. Yeah,
because there's no cutoff above the waist and a cylindrical tube thing. But it is kind of funny in the lore of this show, our show.
You are never allowed to talk about that to the Leewolds or Larry Houston or anyone who was on that original show.
One of these days.
No, you're not, Rod.
Anyway, but it is funny that he brings up the DNA thing with Scott, and then before they can go, so Storm saves the day with this situation. She or Beast, or both of them.
Storm shoots through, and then everybody pops through the hole in the ceiling
and barges in, and interrupts whatever could have happened conversation-wise after that.
I put X-Men arrive and then giant idiot fight, because Madrox he's not a good version of Madrox. They're playing like the super dumb version of him, which I guess is kind of like what would happen to the idiot version that was in Evolution if he went bad. Like, he's just not helpful in any way.
And I really loved Kitty being the aloof teenager here, because she's like, wow, there's like a lot of them, and Multiple Man's like trying to like fight her, but she's just like in permanent phase. Yep. Like just like walking through the area. And then I love in this big dumb fight, Emma just kind of strolls in the back. Like she's doing like the Beyonce entrance. She's like waiting for everything to kind of settle a little bit.
And just turning off people's brains as they're around her. I do like that version of Emma's fighting, because like kind of that's what she does as like her non-diamond form in Marvel Rivals. Is she literally just like does this and psychically zaps people's brains.
Man, I'm kind of curious as to who Emma Frost is going to be in the MCU. I know everybody's thinking about who anybody's going to be, but the more time like we bring up these characters that are clearly going to be in these stories coming up in the next decade or so.
Yeah, not Amber Heard. Just please not Amber Heard.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of bad rumors happening right now with the X-Men stuff, because clearly it's not going to be Amber Heard. That would be they already had to deal with Jonathan Majors. Yep. While it's happening, how dumb would it be to take on someone like in this similar controversy while it's happening? Right. Not only like later. I don't know if you heard the rumors that
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Day-Lewis as Magneto.
I'd be okay with that one.
I'd be okay with it. I did going back to New Rockstars, and Gina was right. Gina Ippolito is a screenwriter in LA. She made a good point of like Daniel Day-Lewis as a idea fan casting is perfect, but knowing him is not going to happen.
Yeah,
because he only does art house films, and he's retired, and he's only ever acted for like art house things he likes and like his son. And so
he also came out of retirement, so
Oh, he did? I didn't know that.
He was retired, came out of retirement, and then re-retired.
Oh, yeah. But
it's called the Ric Flair.
Yeah. Or the Jay-Z or something, right? Like,
wrestlers tend to retire and unretire more than anyone else. So
yeah. But mostly like that. Knowing all that, when you take something like the MCU and especially a character like Magneto, it's like you're going to be committed for the next decade minimum. Does not sound like
till you're 90.
Yeah, dude,
and he's closer.
Yeah, I think he's only in his 60s.
No, but I mean compared to Hugh Jackman.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
But yeah, so the fight. Out. Yeah, he just gets piled on, be it by so many multiples, and then they just show that Bobby is overpowered because he freezes everybody.
Right,
like just everybody's frozen. Bobby. End of the day, Bobby saved everyone.
Sure.
And then Sinister is left. Like he just like nobody followed him. He just like went out the back door and got into a car.
He did his like 1800 Sinister thing where he was Jack the Ripper or whatever. He just like
yep. It's like peace. Out. Yep. And then that's where Scott passes out. Yeah.
Then after the commercial break, Scott wakes up in the mansion. He's redressed. Well,
yes, I noticed that too. Also, they specifically put Scott in an extra medium shirt because that thing is bursting at the seams on him.
It's tight. I also love it's one of those shirts that has like the high like collar, so it's, it's not a turtleneck, but I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't have the V neck to it, but yeah, it's they have like this awkward family moment too, and then everybody leaves except for Logan.
Yeah, I was like, Stormy assures them that they'll find Jean, but they have to do it together. And, Wolverine is angry, and he gives them an ultimatum. He's basically like, shit or get off the pot, He's like,
you're either part of the team or you're not. You got to pick one.
I don't know if I'm used to, not that I've ever loved Cyclops, but I'm not used to like Cyclops being like humbled this much.
It's a little submissive, which doesn't. I guess that's the one difference when you're saying like the two characters are the mirror opposites of each other compared to their previous versions. Because one, we know Logan would not just stop searching for Jean.
Yeah.
And, who knows, maybe they're going to do something where it's like Emma's had some influence on Scott, and that's part of why he's like able to move on and stuff like that. But I mean, Logan's story in everything else is if he doesn't see Jean's body, he doesn't believe that Jean is not there, you know?
Or even just like caving like that. Like he might go along with something, but Scott full on like pouts and he's like, I'm part of the team.
Yeah.
I'm staying. Like, wow, that was like that's something like I feel like a Sunspot or Jubilee or Rogue, like the new kid in each of the series would have done by the end of an episode or something. But I guess that's the kind of end of this, I don't know, not arc, but like the dynamic of Scott being like a rogue agent of X-Men and stuff. And then, man, this 2009, I guess this is like maybe the kind of like first like embers of the MCU after credits kind of thing, because it wasn't an after credit, but like that's where the show would normally end. Like if this was 92, this was where it would end.
Oh, 100%. It would have been like the awkward moment, and then it would just cut to credits. Yeah.
But
they actually had a cliffhanger for us.
They fade into a hospital room, and just because I know, I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna because they're like, oh, the random Jane Doe woke up from her coma. And they pan over, and thank God they had established that they were looking for Jean Grey, because I was like, is that if I didn't expect this to be Jean Grey, I'd be like, is that the other redhead from the cafe? Like, I don't know. Like, they're all the same here.
Yeah. Stop dying.
Yep. But
you're that upset about it.
She was like, they were like, do you know your name? And she's like, no. Yeah. Got to credit.
It's kind of funny because we watched X-Men 97 and the Inferno episode, the Topps Finest Greatest Hits card, which talks about that, where it's Morph holding other Jean. The subtitle on the card is Jean Doe.
I'm sure you love that.
Yeah. I'll forgive puns in X-Men 97.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I had fun. Like, it's like I said, with the same as the last episode. Maybe it's because I have like less of a foundation of expectations for some of the characters. I like the differences bothered me less. Although it was still weird seeing Cyclops being so submissive.
It was weird, but I don't have a problem with it because, and this is probably from being that guy who reads so many comics that fall into like the what if multiverse, all the alternate worlds and stuff like that. This is just the alternate version of Scott for me. So I'm actually like not bothered by it. I don't love this version of Scott being that submissive character, but I don't disagree with the choice because it's this alternate world,
Yeah, and we're in a post, like he may have been the more like aggressive Cyclops in the world that we didn't see that happened before.
Yeah, he could have been the strong leader and the psychic explosion thing that we can't remember the name that they gave it. Like that's because Domino said it, and I'm not going to go back and rewatch Feature X just to get that. But yeah, it's a different version of him, and to an extent, like when we talked about earlier, like he was disassociating when he was sitting at the cafe. So I don't want to like misdiagnose and say that it's like PTSD or something like that, but he obviously has some shit he's dealing with. So yeah.
And now also with this Jean waking up, like this whole like kind of, I never watched a show, but I feel like kind of Grey's Anatomy, like Jane Doe waking up in the hospital.
Is that a thing?
I'm assuming, just because I have so many friends that watched Grey's Anatomy, and when the more they describe the show to me, the less I want to ever go to a hospital because it feels like no one's doing their job. But like this kind of like mystery thing, but more so, it kind of makes me wonder. It makes me realize how little we know about that kind of blip situation.
Yeah,
it's like what happened that they physically lost her, but not like it made it seem like she got eviscerated, but she just got like displaced.
Well, we do know that sort of happened with Xavier too, where all of a sudden his body just appeared on the beach of Genosha.
Oh yeah.
So we don't understand what that displacement is.
Yeah.
Did they go to another place, or did they just like pop forward in time? Like it's to your point, like part of the appeal of the show is they've set the foundation of a really interesting mystery. I just hope we get a payoff for the mystery, and I'm happy with the result of what that mystery is if we get that payoff. So
yeah, that's another thing. We don't know where the hospital is. Like it could be Westchester,
or it could be Los Angeles.
Yeah, we don't know. Or Genosha, I don't know. I guess not Genosha because it
wouldn't be Genosha.
It seemed like a huge
Magneto would know who Jean is.
Right?
If the girl was in his hospital.
That's true. Yeah. So yeah, we don't know where she is.
No Genosha.
Good little cliffhanger. But anything else?
No. I gotta say, like, I'm debating going into some of these wikis and adding references when I'm picking them up because they don't exist on any of the damn things. Like they're literally just like not written.
This is kind of like late in the game, I guess, for the X-Men animated stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there was the fact that like the show only got one season. I got some like insight onto that one too, but it's like, I don't know. Maybe it was just the time in the zeitgeist where it was like everybody starts talking about Avengers and. Because I knew this existed, but there was never no friend ever said you need to watch this show.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I've always had like geeky friends and stuff like that, and this should fit into my MO. But I don't know. There's something about it that it just slipped through the cracks, and I think it did for me and other people. And maybe that's even like the sign, like Comic-Con Revolution, like I probably wouldn't have remembered that Nolan was the voice of Cyclops had he not had the Cyclops picture in his promo image.
Oh, gotcha.
And then the fact that I went to his table and he has 6 or 7 different Deadpools. He's got all these different roles within gaming, like Nathan Drake and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And there's not a single Cyclops picture on his table. Like, that's kind of wild, honestly.
I wonder if that says something about this characterization of Cyclops, if he just is not a likable character by the end of this.
I don't even know if it's the likability of the character. I think it's just
the memorability.
The show probably only being one season.
Yeah.
It never got legs or a following like the other ones. Like, Evolution still got 4 seasons at the end of the day, even if it got cut short, you know?
Yeah, totally.
And even think about, like, that Facebook group that we're both in. Like, I've seen, well, X-Men 97 is a hit, so we need to get the continuation of X-Men Evolution. I've yet to hear somebody in that group even pitch, can we get that for Wolverine and the X-Men?
Yeah.
Even though from everything we've heard from the pseudo-spoiler territory, which don't spoil for us in the comments, it's been the, like, this ends on a hard cliffhanger.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
But
I was told it ends on a harder cliffhanger than what the pseudo cliffhanger we got from Evolution was, which was more of a quick wrap up.
Yeah, I don't like that though, especially because this show is like, even just like rewatching it here on the side is like, it's gorgeous looking. Like,
yeah, it's a beautiful. Honestly, the only thing I have not liked from a design perspective is the weird anatomy of Colossus in that first episode.
Mm-hmm.
That was ugly design for me.
But even then, outside of that, like, there's just like there's not at least very many like errors, and it's not gritty or anything. It's just like very clean looking and stuff. So anyway, but yeah, so thanks for joining us. If you have any thoughts, make sure to drop them into the comments for either the YouTube upload or official Instagram post about this episode. If you like what you heard, we'd appreciate a rating on the podcast app you're choosing. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify, YouTube Podcasts, and CastBox. We get more of those Cyclops DNA comments.
Number 1 on CastBox.
Number 1 on CastBox.